session was at the request of the chapters because of the need to raise the awareness of the chapters and to introduce chapter leaders. Now, not all the chapter leaders are here. Some are representatives of the chapters, but I'll make that clear in the introduction. So this is a very tightly timed session. Some of them have prepared slides, and all those slides will be made available in the slide kit. But I will ask them to keep very tightly to 3 to 4 minutes. I will sit down, and when I get up, that's time for you to finish. So I will. Okay, so no pressure, but that reflects pharmacovigilance because we all work in a stressful environment, so it's simulating the stress of pharmacovigilance. So I think Melissa is helping coordinate this with the IT. Is Melissa here? And because we will start with the first presentation, which is North American chapter, Veronique Kutchner, and then the running order is as in the program, with one addition, because we're very, very grateful because we have Lin Zhu here from China. So, Veronique, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So I have 3 slides, so trying to cover in 3 minutes and to get you used to get to know the North American chapter. So I'm the chair of the North American chapter. I am also the head of global pharmacovigilance at Takeda, and I'm located in Boston. So the North American chapter has been created about 10 years ago, but was revived. My slide was revived about 3 years ago, so we have about 88 members now. So this first slide is just to summarize what's the coverage, geographical scope of the chapter. North America represents United States, Canada, as well as West Indies. We have created an objective, so our chapter have objective. We use this objective our live document when we get together. We have also established bylaws, and all the information about the NASOP is available on the ISOP website. So if you're a member of ISOP, you can go in the chapter section and you will find the information. We're also uploading the minute of the meeting. For the next slide, I cannot do anything. Okay. So we have an executive council, so I am the chair, the vice chair is with me today, so Maribel, if you just want to stand up. Very good to have Maribel with us. We have a treasurer, we're looking for a secretary, and we have a program special project. Tina is our program special project. So we have organized one annual meeting already. So the meeting was held last year in Boston. And the theme of the meeting was structure benefit risk assessment across the therapeutic product life cycle. It was attended by around 66 individuals, and we had external experts, including representatives from pharmaceutical industry, but also from health authority. We have representation from FDA, Health Canada, and we have also external experts. We are going to have a second annual meeting. This will be held, the meeting will be held in December, early December, in Boston again, and we're going to co-host it this year with the seminar. So you may have heard earlier today about the third ISOP seminar on PV automation, PV intelligent automation on pharmacovigilance. So the afternoon of the second day of this seminar will be dedicated to our annual meeting. The next slide. So the annual meeting will be dedicated to presentation from external collaboration. We currently are looking to hear more from Walgreens Corporation, a big pharmacy in the US, and they have a patient safety research foundation. So we have some common objective here, and we will hear more from them on December. And we are also connected with the American Society of Pharmacovigilance. They are really dedicated on education on pharmacovigilance, science, and they will also present the society as well, talk about genomics. We have two existing working groups. One is around the benefit risk framework. They presented their work last year at the annual meeting, and now they're going to go with a publication in drug safety. It's still in progress. And then we have a working group with E2P, a collaborative project with our colleague from E2P to do a program extension in North America. So we have been quite busy, and I think that was my last slide. And again, if you have any question about the chapter, want to join, Maribel and I, we are available after this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Verity, and you can speak to her. She will be here for the meeting. Okay, well, yes, it's not terribly reliable, but...
I think I'll ask.
Okay, so the next person to speak is Sten Olsen, who will explain the new management structure of the Africa chapter. So, as you can tell, Sten isn't from Africa, but he's been extremely important in helping our African colleagues think through the structure of the new chapter. So he will explain that. And so we have his slides up. Thank you.
Can I have the next slide, please? Next. Yeah. So I've just realized this afternoon that my presentation is based on a mistake because I've used ASOP as an acronym, as a name for the African chapter of ISOP. And I'm not supposed to do that, but it's based on this slide that's taken from the ISOP website, where it says that African chapter of ISOP was launched in 2010. Next one. And this is the initial coordinating team. Next one. And that is of ASOP, not of the African chapter. Next. And the latest ASOP activity happened in Kenya, in Mombasa, in 2016. Next one, please. So what we have done, next one, please, is that we have had a suggestion from the advisory board member, Hilda Amparo, to organize an activity in Africa, which got supported by the executive committee and the Kenyan Farms in Poisons Board. They accepted to organize this training in Nairobi. Next, please. So we had a very successful one, this training course with 95 participants in Nairobi. Next. And then we had representatives from the African Union Development Agency, formerly called NEPAD, Margaret Sigonda and Paul Tanoi. They are both in this slide, actually. They expressed a strong wish to have an active speaking partner for development of farm fish in Africa, and they suggested that ISOP's chapter be that. Next. But we realized that we didn't have a management structure for the African chapter at that time. So we discussed how can we create a management board. And we asked the participants at the Nairobi meeting how many are prepared and willing to stand as candidates to be in the executive committee. And we had altogether 26 volunteers. We also asked those who were not at the Nairobi meeting. So then we invited them all to write a biography to be a basis for an election among all the chapter members in Africa. And we had 11 candidates, and the election was carried out using the same mechanism as we use for the advisory board elections. It was carried out between the 4th and the 16th of October. Next, please. And here we have the outcome. The new executive committee, not of ASOP, but of the African chapter of ISOP, have been elected to be Christopher Kayamba from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board in Kenya, Wangui Matenge, he is also from Kenya, Helen Biomir Ndegiye, and Comfort Ogar from, Helen is from Uganda, and Comfort Ogar, she is from Nigeria, and Helen is sitting here in the audience. Right. So that's where we are. We are now expecting that these four persons can sort out who should be the president and who should have the other functions in the executive committee. That's all.
Thank you, Sten, for that. And if you have any further questions for Sten, please do ask him later. Unfortunately, we're not taking any questions, because we're very short on time. Okay, well now, you heard of Manal, she was introduced earlier, and she has very kindly stood in. Unfortunately, Mayada Al-Kanani, and the president of the Middle East chapter was unable to attend, and Mayada has prepared the slides, so we'll take that into account. So please, we have the Middle East chapter presentation.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm so sorry that Mayada couldn't make it to be here, but I'll try to do my best and present our work at the Middle East chapter. Yes, next please. This is the disclaimer of Dr. Mayada. Next, please. Quickly going through the slides.
Ahora vamos a pasar rápidamente por las diapositivas.
We started in September. Well, we started on.
Comenzamos.
You want me to go there?
¿Quieren que vaya al podio?
I didn't understand what he
No
said.
entiendo lo que me dijo.
Okay, this is all time. He's counting. Okay, in September 2015, then launched in October 2015 in a broad meeting, and we have conducted 9 trainings with the different stakeholders from that time to date. And this was the first meeting. Different activities since 2017 till date, and I'm going to go through these activities as fast as possible. This is the first workshop. Many of these activities were in Dubai because it is an international city and easily accessible by different countries. That's why you will find that in the coming slides. The first one was 2 days in Dubai, 3 regional speakers, right? And one international speaker, Brian, is there. You should concentrate on this photo. And another training was held in April 2018, also in Dubai, and it was also a very successful one. Before going further to further activities, the scientific committee of the Middle East chapter was formed, and Mayada, Thamer, Manal, and Magnus from UMC also with us in this scientific committee. Mayada is the president of the chapter, and Dr. Thamer al-Shimari is the vice president of the chapter. We try to do our activities not only in Dubai but in different other places. This one was held in Baghdad, in Iraq, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and the Iraqi Drug Manufacturer Association, where around 30 delegates were attended, and also it was covered by the media during that time. Another one was held with the Iraqi Ministry of Health, around 35 delegates, and now this one for the local state representative of the marketing authorization holders in Iraq. Okay. These are photos.
Aquí tenemos otras fotografías.
Another successful one was in Jordan Symposium. This one was in collaboration with the academia in 2019, and this is the photo. Too many delegates were attended, and around I think 45 one from Africa, Europe, and Asia.
De África, de Europa y de Asia.
The next upcoming event will be on November, and in collaboration, for the first time in the Middle East chapter, in collaboration with the MEDRA training, and registration is still ongoing for that event. Anyone who would like to join us is very welcome to be with us.
Es muy bienvenido.
Okay. We're still having lots of events going on. We have our first annual meeting, that's it. First annual meeting in September 2018 with the support of EDIS. Also, it was represented, the ISOP Middle East chapter was presented in the 6th Pharmacovigilance meeting in Dubai. ISOP Middle East chapter presented in 21 and 22nd DOFAT conferences. Many events in Riyadh, and KSA, scientific meeting for medication safety. I'm running out of time. I think that it is very important to have publication from the chapter, and this was a very interesting publication, the first one, pharmacovigilance system in the Arab countries, where Dr. Thamer and other colleagues tried to describe what's going on regarding pharmacovigilance and also try to trigger out the level of the countries who are in the chapter, and it's a very nice one. Also, there was another abstract accepted for publication in the ISOP 2018. That was in Geneva. This was the paper that was published in drug safety. I think with that. This is the good thing that we are growing up. Since 2014, it was around less than 10 people in the chapter, and now these days we are around 63, and we think that, and we hope that we will be growing up in the next few years, because there is a big need in the area for ISOP and ISOP trainings. And with that, I would like to thank all, and we are all invited to be members of the ISOP Middle East chapter and also attend our training activities. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, and Manal will be here. If any members from the Middle East would like to join the chapter, please come and see her, and your names will be passed to Mayada. And also, I think there are representatives from MSSO. There are two ladies here who probably should speak to you as well because of the MSSO meeting. Our next leader is Marco Tukuri. So Marco, if we could have your slides up. Thank you, they are here.
Can I have the next, please? Is this one? Okay. No. I have just one slide, so I will be very...
If you could move Marco's slide, please.
Okay, perfect. So the Italian chapter is the first to be created, and currently it has 28 members. We have several activities in support of different meetings that involve clinicians and other professionals, healthcare professionals in Italy. Particularly, for instance, this year we had supported a conference in Verona dedicated to e-pharmacovigilance, and in December we have organized a meeting dedicated to medication used in inflammatory bowel diseases, in which we have specific talks dedicated to pharmacovigilance that are endorsed by the chapters. Besides this, we launched since several years. This year we have two courses that are active at the moment, in which participants can receive continuous medication education, medical education credits, and they allows me to take a little income for my chapter that can be used to pursue my specific objective, that since some year is that of creating my chapter as a not-for-profit organization, which is not easy or not easy as I expected. And so I am also evaluating other possibilities, such as the possible collaboration with other societies, such as the Italian Society of Pharmacology, in which there are experts that are shared between the chapter and the society itself. So we are risking to have some kind of overlap, and the best would be that of keeping that homogeneous somehow. We have a Facebook profile with 81 contacts, not all Italian. We have all 7 outside Italy, which is quite active. We publish information, even, for instance, those provided by the UMC or other sources that give information in pharmacovigilance. That's it. Thank you.
Eso sería todo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Marco.
Muchas gracias, Marco.
And we are very pleased that our next speaker, there are no slides because this is Lin Zhu, and she's one of the 3 China ladies who is leading the Chinese chapter. So very grateful. She will share a few thoughts about the China chapter.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Xue Tang, if I can. Lin Zhou is another core member of the China chapter. And the other one is Li Zhang, who is just elected as the advisory board member for the next cycle. The China chapter was set up in October 2017, so it's relatively new. We had successfully had the first ISOP UMC joint training in China, January 2018. And the second one is coming the week after in Guangzhou, China. We still have some seats open, so anyone in that region who are interested, you're welcome to join. We have about 55 members last year, and this year we have over 40 members in this chapter. For daily communication, we set up a WeChat account for the ISOP China chapter, so that information from the chapter and also from ISOP could be easily shared through that WeChat. Moving forward, we aiming to set up some online trainings through the WeChat, which will be quite easy to do. And we'll also closely collaborate with the ISOP and UMC, as well as the local academic and the local health authorities. So taking this chance, I want to thank to Brian and all the board for the supporting to the ISOP China chapter, and look forward to work with Rebecca and the Mira in the coming years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker will be Catherine Illich, who from Southeast Europe chapter.
Good afternoon. I provided an official presentation last year at a meeting. Today I will just give a brief update. I am the coordinator of Southeastern European chapter. We have 2 delegates from Bulgaria. Kristina Lebanova has been continuously a member of the ISOP, and we had discussions about having the ISOP training in Sofia, and we are still discussing that. I hope we will get the ISOP support, as we already had 2 very successful meetings in this part of the world, one in Belgrade and one in Croatia. Besides this meeting, we had 4 poster presentations from Bulgaria, and we have a new member from Bulgaria. We have the first member from Greece.
Tenemos el primer miembro
I look
de
forward
Grecia.
to possibly
Ansiosa
having
poder
another successful meeting
tener
in
otra reunión
Bulgaria, in
exitosa
Sofia. It's a
en
really
Bulgaria, en
beautiful
Sofía.
city,
Es una ciudad
has
muy
a
hermosa
lot to offer
tiene
and
mucho que
great food,
ofrecer,
experienced people
una
in
gran
pharmacovigilance.
gastronomía, gente muy
And
experimentada en la
that's all I have to
farmacovigilancia.
say for
Y eso
today. Thank you.
es todo lo que tengo que decirles por hoy.
Okay. Thank you, Katerina.
Muchas gracias, Caterina.
Next, representing the Pacific Rim
Ahora,
chapter, is
representando
the
el
founder
Círculo
of the Pacific
Pacífico,
Rim chapter, Mira,
fundadora
who you will heard
Círculo
in
Pacífico,
the
Mira.
assembly.
La escucharon en
Over
la
to you.
asamblea.
Thanks, Brian.
Gracias,
I'm here
Brian.
as substituting for
Estoy
Dr.
aquí
Richard
sustituyendo
Hill,
al
who
Dr.
has
Richard
actually
Hill,
been
quien
the head of the Western Pacific chapter.
ha
But I was
liderado
one of the
el
founding members
capítulo
of our
del Pacífico
chapter in
Occidente.
2006.
Pero fui parte
And we
en
actually
el
cover one of the biggest
2016
regions
y
of the
cubrimos una de las
world from
regiones
New
más
Zealand.
grandes
I haven't
del
got any
mundo.
slides, sorry, I'm
No
just
tengo
standing in for Richard.
diapositivas,
But if you imagine a map of the
pero
world
si se
with New
imaginan el
Zealand
mapa del
at
mundo
the
con Nueva
bottom,
Zelanda
we
en la
reach
parte
right from
inferior,
New Zealand, Australia,
digamos, desde
right up
Nueva
to
Zelanda
Singapore. We
hasta
have
Australia y hasta
members in all of
Singapur.
those
Tenemos
countries.
miembros en todos
And we're
esos
actually one of the largest
Y de hecho,
chapters
es
in
uno de los
ISOP. I think
capítulos
we've
más
got about
grandes en
72
ISOP.
members at the moment.
Tenemos
We've
de los
kept in
72
touch by
miembros que
email
tenemos.
and various
Hemos mantenido
activities,
contacto
and
por correo y
in
varias
March
actividades, y en
2018 we had a
marzo
very
de 2018
successful meeting at
tuvimos una reunión
Canberra
muy exitosa
in
en
Australia,
Canberra,
where the
Australia,
TGA operate from.
donde opera la
Lots of
TGA.
enthusiasm, members from
Mucho
regulation,
entusiasmo,
academia.
miembros
We got
reguladores,
together.
academia, nos reunimos.
Richard Hill has
Y
since
Richard
stepped
Hill
down
desde
as the
entonces
chapter head,
dejó de ser
but
el
I'm
director
delighted
del
to
capítulo,
announce
pero
that my
me
colleague
encanta
Joanne
anunciarles que
Barnes,
mi
could you stand
colega
up,
Joanne
Joe,
Barnes,
who is an associate professor in
quien es
Auckland,
profesora
New
asociada de la
Zealand,
Universidad
has
de
kindly
Auckland,
agreed to
ha
now lead
aceptado
our chapter.
ser ahora la líder del
And
capítulo.
also
Y
we
también
have Libano Diaz,
tenemos
who
Libano
works in
Díaz,
Australia,
quien trabaja en
who is a
Australia,
very long-standing member of
y es
ISOP,
un
and
miembro de vieja
we're
data
also
ISOP.
hoping to recruit someone in
Y también
Singapore,
esperamos
so that
reclutar a alguien
essentially
en
we can
Singapur
cover our
para
whole
esencialmente
region
cubrir
and
toda
lead the
nuestra
chapter
región y
forward.
liderar el
And
capítulo
Joe's
hacia el
already
futuro.
got some exciting
Ella
ideas that
tiene
she's
algunas
expressed
cuantas
to me, and we're
ideas
going to take
que me ha
those forward.
expresado y las vamos
So
a
hopefully this time next
implementar.
year
Así que
we can
esperamos que
report
para
back to you
esta
with more
época, el año entrante, les
activities
podamos reportar
from the bottom of the
más
world.
actividades desde la parte de abajo del planeta.
I actually pleased to invite the colleague from Romania to
también
come
quiero
and talk
invitar
to
a
us
nuestra
about
colega de
joining
Rumania
officially our chapter.
para que se una a nuestro capítulo.
That's right. So remember, so if you feel that you should be part of any of these
miembros,
chapters,
siente que debe
please come
ser
and do
parte de
speak to
alguno de
them.
estos capítulos, por favor,
And so,
acérquese
over
y
to
hable
you.
con ellos.
Jean-Christophe?
Ahora John
Thank you
Christoph.
very much. So actually,
Muchas gracias.
Indonesia, look at the map. Indonesia is
Viendo el mapa, Indonesia está
19,800
a
kilometers from Bogotá.
19.800 kilómetros de Bogotá.
And there is no one from the
Y no hay
chapter
nadie
of Indonesia
del
able
capítulo de
to
Indonesia
present. But
que
I
pueda
happen to be
presentar. Pero
an
resulta
advisory board member of this
que
chapter.
soy
So this,
miembro
next
de
slide,
este
please.
capítulo.
The Indonesia chapter was formally created at the Liverpool meeting in 2017, and that was really an expedited process because the chapter was created upon Health Authorities initiative, and it was created within 6 months. And shortly after the official launch in Liverpool, they organized their first meeting with 85 attendees, which was very successful. So this chapter is actually currently composed of only 16 people, but is extremely active. There is some kind of imbalance because there is only one person from regulatory, although it's a regulatory initiative initially, one academic and 14 from the industry. But among those 14, about half are from government-owned pharma industries in Indonesia. So this group has been very active. There is a next slide, please. They organized, next slide please.
Siguiente diapositiva.
They actually organize on an annual basis a chapter meeting with around the 80 participants. They also organize, they participate to local pharma association meetings. That's another activity, providing speakers, sensitizing on pharmacovigilance. And they organize
trainings
Y asimismo,
in smaller
organizaron
groups
capacitaciones en
intended to
pequeños
train
grupos
the Indonesian
en busca
industry,
de
which is
capacitar a la industria
quite an
indonesia,
important pharma industry
que es
locally.
una industria
And they have
local
started by
bastante
a
importante.
state-owned
Comenzaron
industry, and now
con
they're
las
expanding of
industrias
all pharma industry. So
estatales
this
y
is
luego
a
se expandieron a las demás
very
industrias.
active capacity
Así pues,
building activity,
son
and their
actividades
plan for the
muy
upcoming year is
fuertes
to
de construcción
even
de capacidades.
grow further in
Y
this
espera para el
capacity
año
building
entrante crecer aún más en
goal.
este objetivo de
So
creación
the
o de
next, no,
construcción
you
de
can previous
capacidades.
one. The next step would
El
be
siguiente paso
no, next
sería-
one. There is the upcoming meeting in
Viene una
jointly
nueva
organized by
reunión
the NADFC, which is the same as
Organizada
Madame
por
Pom, it's
NADFS.
the health authority, and organized at the end of
que se
November,
llevará a cabo a finales de noviembre.
and combining training and also
Y en
a
este
kind of
se combinará
symposium, and I have the
capacitación
pleasure
y
to
habrá
be
como
a
un
speaker,
simposio y tengo
as I am basically every year. I'm
gusto de
making a
ser speaker
a trip to
en ese
Indonesia
evento.
to
Cada año,
support the activities of this
viaje a
chapter.
Indonesia para dar
So
apoyo
very
a las actividades
dynamic,
de Indonesia. Así pues, muy
mainly
dinámico,
composed of women,
principalmente compuesto
because
por mujeres,
in those countries the
porque
role of
en
women
esos
in public
países
health
el
is
papel de las
considerable,
mujeres en el sector salud
very
es considerable.
it's a great pleasure always to be
Y
among them
siempre es un
and
placer
to
estar
participate in their activity and
entre
advise
ellas y
them.
participar
Thank you
en
very
estas
much.
actividades y darles asesoría. Gracias.
Thank you for JC for speaking on one of our
Gracias,
most
JC, por
recent
hablar
chapters.
en nombre de uno de
So
nuestros
last
capítulos
but
más
not
recientes.
least,
Ahora, por
of
último,
course,
y no menos
we have
importante,
Raquel
por
Herrera,
supuesto,
who will
tenemos a
come up to
Raquel
the
Herrera.
podium.
Si
Thank
puedes
you.
venir, por favor, al podio.
And who will speak, and she's been leading the LATAM chapter
Ella ha sido la líder
since the
del
Buenos
capítulo
Aires meeting.
Latinoamérica
It's one of our,
desde la
was
reunión
it
de
the
Buenos
first
Aires.
chapter? It was, right?
¿Ese fue el primer
First
capítulo?
chapter.
Chapter, no, I don't know.
I don't think it was with it. One of the first.
Bueno, uno de los primeros.
Hi everybody. I entitled the
todos?
presentation modestly, very modestly, the ISOP Latin American
Voy a hacer la
Chapters
presentación
Miracle.
modestamente lo que llamo el milagro del capítulo latinoamericano.
Okay. Okay. This chapter has created in accordance with
fue creado de
ISOP
conformidad
bylaws.
con los estatutos de ISOP.
ISOP aims to foster science, learning,
Que
and research
busca
in pharmacovigilance in all countries.
La farmacovigilancia en todos los países.
And in its objective,
Su objetivo
meetings, educations,
es
and
llevar a cabo
further
reuniones,
training.
educación y
And
capacitación asequible.
we follow the recommendation
Siguiendo
of
las
the
recomendaciones
bylaws of ISOP.
De los estatutos de ISOP.
It was launched in
Fue
Reims in October 2009.
creado en Reims
and
en
it has
octubre de 2009.
baptized with a lot of champagne.
Fue bautizada
And,
con
the president
cantidades
is
completas de
Luis
champaña.
Aleso, and myself is the
Su presidente
coordinator.
Luis Aleso,
And
y
the
yo
secretary,
soy
former
la
secretary,
coordinadora.
the first one,
primer
was the
secretario,
professor Pedro
el profesor
Lipsic,
Pedro
who
Lipsic,
passed away.
quien
And
falleció.
now the secretary is
Y el secretario
Dr.
actual es el
Anthony Wong
doctor
from
Anthony
Brazil.
Wong de Brasil.
We, in our region, because I included, if Mexico allows me, I included the ISOP annual meeting in Cancun because we were part of the scientific committee. Dr. Aleso was the president and I was part. We held three annual meetings in Buenos Aires, in Cancun, and now in Bogotá.
Cancún y ahora en Bogotá.
Okay, and we held several symposia in 2010, the patient pharmacovigilance in clinical trials in Buenos Aires, and in 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, we held several Latin American chapter symposia in Buenos Aires, São Paulo, Bogotá, Mexico and San Pablo again.
México y
And the
nuevamente en
last
Sao Paulo.
one
El
in
último que tuvimos
2019,
en 2019
it was held in Córdoba, in
fue llevado
Argentina,
en
in the
Córdoba, en
university,
Argentina, en la
and it
Universidad
was
de Córdoba.
focused
Y se enfocó
entirely on
en su totalidad
education in
en la
pharmacovigilance.
educación en farmacovigilancia.
Okay. These are the photos of the
Estas son
meetings.
las fotografías de las
This
reuniones
is
que
the
tuvimos.
last one.
Esta es
It has
el último.
a crowded audience, 100
Bastante
attendees and delegates.
asistencia multitudinaria
We
de 100
had
delegados.
speakers from 7 countries of
Presentadores
the
de
Latin
7
Latin
países
America
latinoamericanos.
and from 14 universities from
provenientes de
all
14
Latin
universidades
America.
también de toda Latinoamérica.
And most of these speakers are
mayoría de estos
now here
oradores
in
están presentes
in this meeting,
en esta reunión.
and it was attended by 100 people from Perú,
Así pues,
Chile,
recibimos a unas
Uruguay,
100 personas de Perú,
Argentina,
Chile, Uruguay,
Colombia,
Argentina, Colombia,
Brasil, Mexico, delegates
Brasil,
who attended the meeting. The meeting was free of cost, for free, absolutely.
No tuvo costo
And
alguno,
it was held
totalmente
in the
gratuito.
Córdoba National
Se llevó a
University.
cabo en la Universidad Nacional de Córdoba.
In our production, we published
En cuanto a
in
nuestra
collaboration
producción,
first
hemos publicado
with
primero en colaboración
with the Uppsala Monitoring Center in
el Uppsala Monitoring
2012,
Center en 2012,
two pharmacovigilance books
dos
in
libros de
Spanish,
farmacovigilancia en español,
addressed to general
dirigidos
public,
al
to
público
not to
general.
general public, but to
Bueno, no
general
al público
health
general,
professionals.
sino a los profesionales
It's
en
not,
salud
not
en general,
addressed to pharmacovigilance
no
community.
dirigido particularmente a la comunidad de farmacovigilancia.
Dr. Papale and Santiago Esquefino and
Dr. Papale and Santiago Esquefino,
García Darderos coordinated last
fueron
year
los coordinadores
this
el año
book
pasado
of the
la
manual
elaboración
de
de
buenas
este libro,
prácticas de farmacovigilancia
del
with
libro de buenas
I
prácticas
don't
de
know
farmacovigilancia,
23 chapters and a lot of collaborators.
23
It's
capítulos y una gran cantidad de colaboradores.
a big book, and
libro
well,
grande.
It gather perspective from for
Recopila
regulations,
perspectivas para
educations,
regulación, educación,
counterfeiting and signals, a lot of.
clasificación,
It's a
señales.
very comprehensive book.
Es un libro bastante
And now,
amplio e integral.
this is the evolution
Esta es
of
la
our
evolución
membership in
de nuestra
along
membresía
10
por
years.
nuestros miembros en los últimos 10 años.
In 2009, we
2009,
had, I think, 12 members
Teníamos creo que
from
unos 12
4
miembros
countries,
de 4
and
países.
now we have
Y en la actualidad
43
tenemos
members
43
from
miembros
12 countries,
de 12
and
países.
this is an absolute success.
Eso es un éxito absoluto.
Taking into account,
Teniendo en cuenta
market the former members, the old members here,
que aquí
and
tenemos
now
a los
I
antiguos
don't have
miembros, aun cuando no tengo aquí
figure,
la cifra
but you can see
2019,
the,
pero podemos ver
there is a number of stable members.
hay
This reflects the
cifra de
continuity
miembros
and the
estables.
commitment
Eso
of
refleja la continuidad
its
y el
members.
compromiso de cada uno de sus miembros.
Okay. I entitled the Latin American Miracle
el milagro
because you
latinoamericano,
can see here
porque como podemos ver
the
aquí,
evolution, the fall
tenemos
of
la
local
evolución y
currencies
caída
in Latin
de las
America.
monedas
It's very
locales
difficult for us
latinoamericanas.
to
Hace
participate, to
muy
move, to
difícil
work, and
para
we do all this
para
with a
participar.
great
Así que
commitment,
hacemos
with a
todo
great
esto con
effort.
mucho
It's
compromiso,
not
mucho
easy,
esfuerzo.
but
No es fácil,
it's our passion,
pero
and
es nuestra
we are
pasión.
very happy to do this.
Y estamos
And-
muy felices
okay.
por hacerlo.
I think our priorities are access to medical care,
Nuestros
access to
objetivos,
medicines,
acceso a
perception
cuidado
of the
médico,
value
acceso a
of
medicinas,
medicine and
percepción del valor de la medicina y
pharmacovigilance
beneficios,
educations, what the staff, the research, sustainability of projects, which is very important in a region with high instability, political instability, and health professionals and patients' vulnerability. Okay, and our challenges to sustain the work, increase the number of Latin American members through increased affordability of the membership of TWICE and reinforce communication and collaboration. Next year, we will hold a meeting in pharmacovigilance in universities in Brasilia in August 25 and 26 August 2020. This is all our activity, and we hope to continue working.
Thank you, Raquel. And I'm sure there will be a great increase in the activities following the meeting. So thank you very much to the speakers of chapters, and I apologize I put you under pressure, but it was an opportunity for all the assembled to recognize these chapters exist. They're your chapters. Use them or lose them, as they say. If you want to think of or you want to create a chapter, we now have a new chapter coordinator, Rebecca Chandler, if that's correct, and you could speak to Mira, of course, who would be very happy to advise as well. So there will now be a seamless transition to my friend and colleague Deirdre McCarthy on a related topic, the special interest groups. Because the special interest groups, the chapters, these are the engine of ISOP. This is the way the members can just get down, get dirty, and really do some practical pharmacovigilance. So I hand over now to you, Deirdre. And I will stay up on the podium because want the SIG leaders
yeah.
So thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to invite any of the SIG leads who are here with us to come and join me on the podium as we effect a seamless transition. Okay, I think we are about to have a quorum and we can get started. So we'll take the next slide, please. I'm not going to use the clicker. Great. So I think we have about 30 to 40 minutes in which to get through the session before the final event of the day, which is the UMC movie. And then everybody needs to rush off to put on their lipstick and their dancing shoes for the gala event. So it gives me really enormous pleasure to introduce the heads of the SIGs that I have been coordinating for the past 3 years as the SIG lead. And you have them here on the screen. We have Mira looking after the Women's Medicines Group, Priya for risk communication, Jean-Christophe for risk minimization in the Asia countries, Joanne for herbals and traditional medicines, Brian and Ian for medication errors, Jan for the PV framework, Santosh for medical devices, and Rebecca for very new, hot off the press vaccine surveillance group. Jan is not available, he's not able to be here, so I'm going to do his slides, and Santosh is not here for medical devices. That group is actually on ice at the moment because of a change in management within the group in India. So if anybody would like to talk to myself or Angela afterwards about that, we're happy to refresh that SIG. So next slide. Yeah, so I just really want to, she needs no introduction, but I'll be handing over to Angela as the new lead.
can't think of anybody better to take it forward, and I'm sure everybody will be in very good hands, and we can reinvigorate, and we've already had some discussions about new ways of having the stakes work together and integrate more across each one. Great, so thanks in advance, Angela. So let's kick off with the, yes, the first one. So Mira, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to you. You can either come to the podium or deliver from the...
I'll stay here. It's been a big day, hasn't it? Thank you, Deirdre, for leading the SIG so ably in the last 3 years. Thank you to everyone who came to the Women's Medicine session earlier today, and those of you that did will get an idea of the issues that we discussed. We were launched in 2011 after a really interesting session in Istanbul in Turkey, and I've been coordinating the session, the group since then, essentially because I am an obstetrician gynecologist, and that has been my interest. We currently have 67 members from 5 continents. We're really diverse, and we have people from all over the world in our group. And our key aim is up on the slide, is really to keep women's medicines at the heart of ISOP's core values, which, like all medicines, are safe and effective use, but with specific focus on how women use medicines. Next slide, please. So we do what we hope is a dynamic and interesting session at pretty much every ISOP general meeting. In 2015, we published a book called Medicines for Women, and there are flyers for the book out on the ISOP stand. It's pretty much the only textbook that covers all of medicines for women, from contraception right through to medicines used in menopause, and lots of my ISOP colleagues were co-authors of this book, and highly recommended, of course. We're very interested in contraception, as you will know if you attended our session earlier, particularly promoting access to contraception so that women can protect their reproductive health. We want to improve the quality of medicines, of information on women's medicines, and in this regard we work with Priya and her group on risk communication, and we want to basically collaborate within ISOP and beyond on this issue. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. So please, if you're interested in medicines for women, please come and see me. I'd love you, any of you who are interested, to join our group and be part of our network. And yes, just do come and join us if you've got an interest. Thank you.
Thanks, Mira. So now I'm going to hand it straight over to Priya Barry, who's going to talk to us about risk communication.
Well, thank you. Yes, next slide, please. So our group is a little bit younger. We have our 5 years anniversary this year, and I did a mistake. I forgot to bring the champagne. So that was one of the first outcomes of our meeting this morning, and yesterday evening we had 2 meetings already for our SIG at this specific annual meeting. So we have a fluctuating membership. We had, until last year, we had many more, almost double, but people keep on also leaving ISOP, so then we are currently 26, but we have a couple of interested colleagues who joined this year, so I think we are back to 30, I hope. Our overall game is really to strengthen communication as an integrated pharmacovigilance process, like not an add-on at some point in time when risk assessment is ready, but something which is much more integrating a two-way process with the communities, the patients and the healthcare professionals. And yes, if you want to join us, you can talk to me today, or you can always drop an email with Sophie. Now on the next slide you will see what we have done so far. We had an article in Drug Safety early on to basically lay out our vision and where we are currently with medicinal drug risk communication, and at almost all annual meetings we had special sessions with either experts from outside whom we could invite, or from contributions from inside the community, with very local examples, and it was a lot about global learning. We also provided a number of training sessions, in particular in the framework of risk management. Now, we are now thinking as next step, so we also had a lot of cooperation, actually, I should not forget that. We advised a lot, Irene Fermont, when she
could organize a really exciting patient safety event this year in Israel, and we did a lot of remote advice. And we collaborate just as Mira said with the Women's Health Group, but also a lot with Brian's group on the medication error and human factor, because communication and human factor actually are closely related. And also we have a really good collaboration with the Special Interest Group on the Southeast Asia SIG, and work together in Accra also on the training. And I think for me it's really important. I really liked when Stan yesterday said that the SIGs are the motor of the society, where we really can achieve progress on new topics. And I think it's really important that we work together and not like in silos. So that's really nice. So at the next slide, I think, is there something about the future? No. Okay. So the future is that we want to. So Geoffrey kindly agreed that we will summarize what we have been doing the last 5 years, and that can become a nice paper, which then everybody can use as a further resource for learning. And we have identified that 3 areas where we think we should improve, which is like communication to patients, communication to healthcare professionals, and the use of novel tools. And we haven't yet quite decided on what we will focus, but that is now subject to written exchanges over the next couple of months, and then we obviously want to prepare a new session for Oman. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. So handing straight over to Joanne Barnes for the herbal and traditional medicines. Thank you, Deidre. Good afternoon, everybody. So yes, I'm the lead for the Herbal and Traditional Medicines Special Interest Group. Could I have the next slide, please? So we're one of the younger SIGs that ISOP has. I think we were maybe the youngest until we were picked now at the post by the vaccine group. So we're moving into the toddler stage. So this SIG was launched in 2017. We launched it formally at the ISOP conference in Liverpool. To date, we've got 22 members from 14 countries around the world, but we would like to have much broader representation. So if there are people there that would like to join our SIG, then you are very welcome to do so. Please contact me. And we've heard a lot at this conference about how global this society is, but Stan said on Saturday night that obviously it's difficult for ISOP to be ever present globally, and the SIGs are a great way of doing this. And of course the Herbal and Traditional Medicine SIG is a fantastic way, because almost every country, every culture has herbal medicines or traditional medicines as part of its approach to healthcare. And so if you're interested in this area, please join our SIG. One of the main reasons for this particular special interest group is, of course, that herbal and traditional medicines present us with some unique challenges in terms of their pharmacovigilance. And so people in the group join with us in discussing these issues and serving as a conduit for sharing information and doing some work together. Next slide, please. So some of the activities that we've been able to undertake in our short history have been, in particular, that we have been working on a project where we've analysed the herbal reports in the UMC database, Vigibase, and I'm very pleased to announce that our paper that we'd submitted to a special issue on Frontiers in Pharmacology has just been accepted for publication and published just in the last week or so. So when I return from this meeting, I'll be discussing with the SIG what our next project will be. And then something else that's going on in the background, I'm working on writing and editing a book on pharmacovigilance for herbal medicines, and many of the members of the SIG are contributing chapters to this book, and I've also been scribbling down names while I've been at the conference for some other people that I'm going to approach, particularly from the chapter groups. So please join us if you have an interest, and thanks very much to all of you who attended the great session yesterday. Thank you. Okay, so over to Jean-Christophe for risk minimization for the Asian countries.
Informar sobre los países asiáticos, los grupos de interés asiáticos.
Thank you. So the ISOP Special Interest Group on Risk Minimization Methods for Asian Countries was created in 2015 in Singapore from a majority of heads of national PV centers of especially Southeast Asian countries. And we appointed Hervé Lelouet as our chairperson and Yola Morid as our methodologist. So the idea was kind of following up on Science 9 on how to adapt risk minimization intervention to very diverse PV systems. So after a kind of exploratory phase, it became, let's say, Professor Morid suggested that we needed to investigate with a sound methodology the criteria for deciding when additional risk minimization are actually needed and what kind of it. So we embarked into a quite ambitious project of a Delphi study, which required to do a pre-Delphi because there was no literature available to start a Delphi questionnaire. So this took overall 3 years to do the pre-Delphi, then the Delphi. And we are, in the meantime, last year, we added a different approach. Well, maybe you can move the slides. We started a second approach, which was to gather the practice, the actual practice of risk minimization intervention and also routine risk minimization in Asian countries, especially Southeast Asian countries, and analyze this information group, the responses from those countries. So this was presented in a symposium in Geneva last year for those who attended it. So we have run those two approaches in parallel. Next slide, please. So as for the Delphi approach, we are reaching a milestone because the study is completed, the results have been analyzed, and Yola Morid and her team are currently writing the paper. So from that point, we'll share the results with the group, which has been kind of fluctuating around 40 people, depending on the involvement in the different approaches. And we are planning a face-to-face meeting in Asia, maybe for the 5th anniversary of the group, hopefully in May next year. And what we'll do is reflect on the results of the Delphi study, on the consensus criteria, also on the criteria for which there was no consensus, and also bridge with this observation approach of the actual practice of risk minimization and kind of get to an implementation phase. And the idea which I discussed with Yola Morid during those days is that the picture is evolving. The criteria for deciding risk minimization may evolve, as well as the practice is evolving. So the idea is to make some simplified refreshment assessment of both the criteria for deciding and the actual practice. So that's where we are. So the next year is likely to be pretty active for this special interest group. And another idea is no longer limit to Asia, but to apply this methodology in other regions. And we have actually started because before the Nairobi meeting, we actually tested a revised version of the questionnaire to collect the practice in African countries. We may expand that to other regions, and we have actually requests from other regions, especially Middle East, to apply this methodology. So we may finally drop Asian country in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So over to you, Brian, for medication errors. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre. I will try and operate this to illustrate the principle of error management, or not, as the case may be. So I currently chair the Medication Error Special Interest Group, and this is the aim of the group: create opportunities for those researching, investigating medication errors to network in a very friendly and informal environment, and also support any research, particularly to ensure that there's good quality journals, and also to reach out to healthcare professionals and organizations who are currently in the process of scientifically evaluating medication. So build bridges, not just in many countries of the world wherever we can, but also to work with regulatory agencies, including EMA, MSO, around the coding and classification of medication errors. We've been involved in helping support the content, training and tutorials of pharmacovigilance centres. So some of our members, in particular, of course, Morocco, are showing great leadership in this area, providing training in this area, and also, last but not least, providing a forum by which patients can share their experiences and ask us difficult questions. So what have our outputs been? Well, first of all, Angela Carroll has been taking the lead on social media, and she actually, probably I might ask her to come up to explain what the Twitter and Facebook accounts are, because that's also linked to her future role in social media as well. We have regular meetings every 4 to 6 weeks. We are very lucky. We have a project manager, Jim Carlson, in the UK, who really keeps the team moving, and he's very organized. We've had representation with, of course, between ISOP introduced to patients, representatives, patient organizations who are very interested in medication errors. We've had a group led by Katerina Kralova of Sanofi, who's leading a group on coding and classification, and that is coordinated with NCEP, EMA, MSSO. We've also been liaising with the British Pharmacology Society around the prescribing safety assessment, which is a very important initiative which is currently in place in the UK for the training of doctors in safe prescribing, and this is by the BPS, British Pharmacology Society, are rolling this out into other countries such as Saudi Arabia, Middle East, Canada, and we're helping to raise the awareness of this very important program, and also introducing BPS to other countries as well. In India, we have a project team looking at the pharmacoeconomics of medication errors, and they are liaising with the University of Bangor in Wales, who have a research interest in this area. Our Middle East chapter colleagues there are also very interested in medication errors, and as I mentioned, Thamir is very much involved now with the BPS around prescribing safety assessment with Saudi and UAE. We were involved with an MSc project, part of EU2P, designing a process to evaluate training videos for adrenaline auto-injectors, and that involved liaison with the UK Human Factors Group for pharmaceuticals. And so what does the future hold? Well, in this meeting, we had, I believe, a successful training course on medication errors, which was the first time I think ISOP had a training course on medication errors. That was an all-day course Angela and I set up because human factors is really storming ahead in the US and the UK. This topic was raised, and human factors professionals here in Latin America were introduced to pharmacovigilance professionals, and we will be looking further how we can use human factor frameworks for medication errors. The International Medication Safety Network invited ISOP to come and speak at their meeting, and Thamir from the Middle East chapter spoke at that meeting, which was just last week, and apparently the feedback on that was was very good, and indeed IMSN wants to continue discussions and cooperation with our group, and we will be liaising with Veronique, because ISMP and FDA are very much leaders in that, so we need to keep the North American chapter involved, and they will help with communication with ISMP and FDA. So it shows not only this SIG, but of course the other SIG very much reaches to other chapters, we cut across the other chapters. And last but not least, some of our members here have asked, can they join and discuss pharmacogenetics? So we will add that to our list of topics, and as I say, we've got boundless energy, so do come and see me afterwards if you want to join our medication errors group. Thank you. Angela, did you want to come and say a few words about the social media platform? Because I know you're going to be involved with it going forward as well.
Okay, the social media strategy of medication errors is working from 1 year maybe. It is developed by all the group of Latin America. We have here some members of their group, Elaine Capucho, and Liliana Vargas, and Mariano Madurga. They are all involved. We have some followers in this moment, maybe 500, but we need more, cover more, because if we have a lot of followers, we can share more information. We have a Twitter account too, and we, in this moment, are just sharing the information in English, but the idea is still continue and improve information in other languages. I think it's all, Brian.
Creo que eso es todo.
Okay, thank you. So next slide. So the next SIG is going to be the career framework, with the pharmacovigilance career and training framework. So Jan is not with us today, so I'll take you through his slides. The next one. Okay, so this is another relatively newly launched SIG. It was launched at our meeting in Liverpool a couple of years ago. There are about 24 members to date. Jan is the coordinator, and he's been working on a day-to-day basis with Daniela Majerskova. And the aim is to address the need for harmonization in professional pharmacovigilance qualifications, especially in the area of PV, professional career structure. And really, we've been hearing over the past 3 to 4 years, and even beyond that, about the lack of structured frameworks for people who decide to spend their career in pharmacovigilance within industry, within academia, research, and possibly even regulatory, to move up the ladder, to move sideways, and progress their career in an organized way. So obviously this is a very, very big task, and it's handled very differently around the world. So Jan and his team decided to take it on. So next slide. So what they have done is to create a collaboration platform, and they're using a type of SharePoint called Basecamp, which is maintained by a non-profit organization called the Institute for Pharmacovigilance. I think that's housed in the Czech Republic, where Jan is. And what the team have been doing is making an inventory of all of the PV educational offerings around the world. So some of you may have seen these already at some previous meetings. And based on this, they have a draft guideline, which has actually already been circulated and discussed at 2 teleconferences held in July of this year. And we're looking forward to seeing the first revision of this out for public review in Q1 of 2020. I think this is something that all of us will be interested to see, so watch this space. If you feel you have something to contribute, and I'm sure many of you do, please contact Jan directly or Angela, and we can get you involved. And so the last slide, please, on this one, is just a screenshot of what the Basecamp collaboration platform looks like. So when you become a member, you will have access to this, and you can communicate and review and elaborate the documents that the team is working on. Okay, so next one is going to be vaccine surveillance. Unfortunately, Rebecca is not going to be with us today for this piece, so I'll just take you through the slide. As you all heard, this is the most newly formed SIG. We're really excited about this, a huge need for vaccine surveillance these days. So it was launched just now, and the aim is to provide a focal point for ISOP members interested in vaccine safety to share and provide information information on relevant issues and developments to support vaccine PV. And next slide. The activities are aiming to organize where possible a session at every ISOP meeting going forward, so every annual meeting, to advise the executive committee where required on issues relating to vaccine safety, for example, position statements, to foster collaboration between the national PV centres and national immunisation programmes, to encourage collaboration with persons working within the field of vaccinology, to expand knowledge of how vaccines can cause AEs, and finally to develop and support improved approaches to communication regarding the benefits and risk for vaccines, in particular as our knowledge of inter-individual variation in immune responses and the risk for adverse events following immunisation grows. So really important topics. Okay, last slide. Yeah, so I just want to thank you for your attention. If you would like to join any of the SIGs, you have all of the details. Many of the SIG leads are here. And I put some email addresses. If you have ideas for new SIGs, again, particularly welcoming ideas for the medical device SIG, which needs a little reboost. So we're also hoping to create a generic email address through which you can communicate about the SIGs. And I think it's a very important and very exciting time going ahead. One of the key takeaways of our talk today is that we're going to be strongly encouraging integration between SIGs, and I think we've heard a little bit about this going forward. And one of the ideas we have with Angela is to, for example, thread the concept of patient involvement in pharmacovigilance across all of the SIGs and communication across all of the SIGs. So again, exciting times ahead, and I'd like to formally hand you over to Angela, and if there are no questions, we can close the session and move on to the, I believe there's a movie from, or a film from the UMC. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, can I have your attention, please? I know today was a long session, but right now we're going to see a film about global medicine safety, from Uppsala Monitoring Center, going further together.
Is changing. At no time in history have we been so connected by technology, so empowered by innovation. Many of us are living longer than any generation before us, a direct result of better nutrition and sanitation and improving healthcare. Universal access to medicine is undeniably transforming lives. Yet at the same time, the growth in pharmaceuticals across the world also raises the threat of adverse reaction to drugs. To help protect patients, we must ensure the public are not harmed by the very medicines created to cure them. Today, this watchdog role is being played out in 150 countries by the Uppsala Monitoring Center and its global health partners. Established 4 decades ago and bearing the name of the small Swedish city where it was born, the centre might be little known to the wider public, yet it has a profound impact in our daily lives.
Uppsala Monitoring Center was established 40 years ago to support the World Health Organization network of countries working together for safer use of medicines. My name is Marie Lindqvist, and I'm the director of UMC. From day one, our ambition was clear, in collaboration with WHO, to work with partners across the globe to encourage reporting of adverse effects of medicines, to record and understand them, and reduce the risk of their happening again. This is the safety monitoring of medicines, the science known as pharmacovigilance. It's been a partnership without borders that has reached nearly every corner of the globe. It's a genuine global collaboration, people by all ages and diverse backgrounds.
The principal goal of UMC remains the same as it was when the organisation was first founded: to use the power of data to create an enduring global safety culture around medicine. But to be truly effective, the organisation must collaborate with partners from every corner of the globe. Successful pharmacovigilance is about building partnerships alongside people with a deep sense of purpose. Health professionals in Cape Verde, like Jamila Rees.
Health is a fundamental human right. My journey is to cause an impact and assure that people have access to medicine. My brother and I jokes that was a legacy from our parents. They were so connected with this struggle for the independence of Cape Verde, of serving Cape Verde, that we are both public servers. The discussion was how to be useful to Cape Verde, how to make this country a better place. This gave me a sense of purpose. Being a pharmacist, I always related this with medicine. Medicine serves a purpose that's helping people.
As we enter a new age of innovation, improvements in clinical data, electronic health records, and social media promises to narrow the chances of adverse drug effects. But in island nations like Cape Verde, pharmacovigilance remains largely unheard of, despite at times being the difference between life and death. In such remote locations where internet connectivity is not universal, face-to-face advocacy and education remains at the core of public health missions to teach the public about medicine's use.
The unique challenges here in terms of pharmacovigilance in Cape Verde. We know now that people really don't understand what is a medicine, how to use it correctly, that the medicines also have a risk when you take it. An example is the use of a medicine that should be used as a gastric protector, but it's being used for abortion by adolescents. And then they reach the hospital. Sometimes it's possible to save their life, but they will never be pregnant again. They'll never be mothers again. We want a better use, a safer use of the medicines. The patients are really the reason why we're doing all this.
The medicine safety community is being shaped by like-minded health professionals across the world. In Zagreb and across Croatia, Darko Krinic, the head of the pharmacovigilance section at the Croatian Medicines Agency, HALMED, works closely with doctors, pharmacists, nurses, regulatory authorities and pharmaceutical companies to ensure the safety of all patients. A role for him that is also driven by a desire to build a lasting healthcare legacy for his young and ambitious country.
Most people believe that medicines are 100% safe. It is true that they save lives, but they also carry a risk. That balance between benefit and risk needs to be a global conversation. I see this with my team at HALMED. To me, they are an example of this new generation, driven and passionate and working towards achieving positive change in society. And I'm proud of them.
For trained doctors like Darko, pharmacovigilance is not just about securing the safety of patients in his own country, but sharing knowledge on everything, from the smallest local reaction to a simple aspirin, to global ideas for enhancing public awareness around medicine's use. In order to improve practice, lessons and learnings must be shared across international borders, not only to save lives, but also to help defeat a very modern blight: fake news and misinformation.
In this professional journey I'm on, I realized that more I travel, the more I understand that we are all the same. We all need healthcare. Many of us need medicine. We need to be safe and also ensure our loved ones are protected. We might speak different languages and come from different cultures, but the end result is the same. We all want to improve global healthcare. In this age of misinformation, there are many different opinions on major issues, and vaccination is a great example of divisive issue where if people make the wrong decision, it could jeopardize the health of their children. What is more important than a child's health? I firmly believe in protecting children, the next generation, empowering them with any means necessary to fight disease. I'm a parent first and doctor second, and so I take solemn position through my work on my responsibilities to fight for the rights of the child who doesn't have a strong voice, a clear voice on their own fate. So as leaders in our field, we need to be brave and clear. Through this commitment, we must build knowledge based on trust and integrity. Decades may have passed since the war here in the early 90s. What the war gave us here in Croatia is this strong sense that we are in this together, that we can help our neighbor, and that has stuck with me. It's at the heart of Croatia's resilience and capacity to recover and, above all, heal.
UMC exists to provide methods, tools and training that empowers and informs our partners. But there is more to the organisation than this. UMC's journey over the past 4 decades teaches us that the most powerful weapon we have against adverse drug reactions is leaving no stone unturned and no one person ill-informed about medicine.
From the very beginning, we have focused on developing a strong support network of people passionate about pharmacovigilance. We work with partners across the world to encourage reporting of adverse effects of medicines, to record and understand them, and reduce the risk of their happening again, no matter where. Modern healthcare has brought enormous benefit to all of us, but no medicine is 100% safe for all people. Every time a treatment decision is made, the doctor and patient must decide if the benefits are sufficient to accept the possibility of discomfort or harm. This is why we need to talk about medicine safety and report any adverse effect. The more we know about what patients have experienced, the more all of us can be accurately informed and harm can be prevented in the future. That's what our work is all about. We are scientists at UMC, but we never forget that the focus of our work is the safety and health of individual patients across the world.
For dedicated pharmacists like Magali Tito Yepes, overcoming the physical challenges of mountain ranges and rainforests in her native Peru requires exceptional creativity and resilience to keep patients as safe as possible. Here in South America, gathering data on drug safety and educating doctors and patients alike in countless different languages can often involve journeys by foot in Andean peaks or by canoe along the Amazon. It is a daunting day-to-day job without geographical boundaries.
Mi mamá era enfermera. Entonces pasaba largos momentos en el hospital, era casi como mi casa. Y mi función principal es monitorear la seguridad de los medicamentos en todo el Perú. Trabajo de la mano con la industria farmacéutica, con todos los profesionales de la salud que trabajan en los diferentes establecimientos de salud. Hablamos de las clínicas, los hospitales, centros de salud, puestos de salud, y también trabajamos con los pacientes. El objetivo final es identificar cualquier problema relacionado con el uso de los medicamentos. No solamente hablamos de reacciones adversas, hablamos de cualquier consecuencia negativa, es decir, la falta de eficacia, errores de administración que pueden tener un efecto negativo. El objetivo siempre es prevenir y evitar cualquier riesgo innecesario. En nuestro país hablamos de comercio ilegal cuando encontramos medicamentos vencidos, presuntamente falsificados o procedentes del contrabando. Trabajar con un equipo multidisciplinario, hablamos de la policía, la fiscalía, otras autoridades, organizando operativos a nivel nacional para identificar a estas personas, aquellos que venden este tipo de productos, y retirarlos del mercado. A lo largo de toda mi carrera he trabajado en diferentes instituciones del Ministerio de Salud, incluyendo hospitales. Mi objetivo siempre fue tratar de prevenir y minimizar cualquier riesgo asociado al uso de los medicamentos. Perú es un país geográficamente muy complejo. Está dividido en los Andes en su corazón y rodeado por el océano y el Amazonas en sus fronteras. Atravesar un entorno de este tipo es un gran desafío cuando se trata de proporcionar atención médica. Tiene un gran reto relacionado con los medicamentos. Aún existe mucha pobreza en este país, lo que dificulta el acceso a los servicios básicos de salud. Tenemos comunidades muy lejanas donde la distancia se convierte en el principal obstáculo para acceder a un medicamento o un tratamiento. Las personas tienen que caminar largas horas, largas distancias para llegar a un establecimiento de salud. Y no siempre, cuando llegan, pueden acceder al medicamento porque no disponen del dinero suficiente. Esta situación es a veces aprovechada por personas inescrupulosas que venden medicamentos de baja calidad a un bajo costo y que, lejos de ayudar, este medicamento puede representar un riesgo para la salud de ellos. Esta situación plantea un desafío para nosotros, para la Dirección General de Medicamentos, en cuanto al control de los tratamientos del medicamento en sí. Debemos continuar trabajando con los profesionales de la salud, universidades, la propia industria farmacéutica, para fortalecer la farmacovigilancia y crear conciencia sobre la importancia de establecer una comunicación estrecha con los pacientes. Conocemos los problemas, entendemos los desafíos y creo que en realidad estamos teniendo un impacto.
Yet whilst technology brings the promise of greater reach for the pharmacovigilance movement, it also brings the emergence of lawless online markets and the growth in fake medicine sales. This is particularly true in regions like North Africa, where neighbours are inspiring each other to adopt more robust strategies to fight against the threat of harmful medication and weak regulation. Here, Rashida Soleimani, the director of the Poison Control and Pharmacovigilance Centre of Morocco, is turning to the airwaves to deliver the clear message that we mustn't take the safety of our medicines for granted.
Morocco is geographically and culturally complex. We are a bridge. We are on the cusp of Europe, and we stretch down into Africa. The use of medicines has exploded in Africa with 80,000 drugs on the market, but regulation often falls short. Across Africa, the consumers don't often have enough information about the medicines they are taking. The internet adds to the lack of regulation. For example, people in Nigeria can buy medicines from China. So we face enormous challenges across our continent. Pharmacovigilance is much more than medicine safety. It's about building trust among the public. It's about people and making them believe in the health system structure from top to bottom. Education is paramount to everything. Knowledge is power. How do we reach nomads in the Sahara? And at the same time, be relevant to urban commuters in Casablanca? Well, for a start, we diversify our approach. We work with a network of nurses, doctors, and pharmacists across Morocco. This collaboration gives us an opportunity to carry the same messages to millions of people. Here, geographically is still a challenge, and we must utilize the media successfully. In Morocco, radio is incredibly popular, and the airwaves offer us the opportunity to cross mountains. Even nomads in the deep Sahara carry transistor radios. People all over the country listen to radio on their phones. And this offers us a direct connection to people. We must look to social media, to connecting with audiences, to use the advantages of technology to reach people who have never heard our message.
Today, innovation is undoubtedly democratizing access to life-changing medicines and creating cures against diseases that have blighted society for centuries. Yet, like many other sectors, healthcare is also entering a period of rapid change. The advance of new technologies and discoveries are among the many factors propelling patient empowerment in developed countries. For Dorothy To, Director of HSA, the Drug Regulatory Authority in Singapore, it's a journey that is fundamentally changing how we prevent, diagnose and cure diseases.
Singapore is a classic example of a melting pot with many cultures and communities living together. So as a society, we look at the child and we look at the future, and I think the government's vision is to ensure that everybody lives healthily, takes care of their health, from the time when they are young, all the way to when they're maybe more senior. And I think these count for one of the reasons why Singapore has one of the lowest GDP spending comparatively. I think in this digital era, pharmacovigilance should be looked at in a more sophisticated manner. People's gene could just be on a smart card, or maybe our information is just in our handphone, where we can just tap when we go into the hospital, and the doctor knows all about our genetic makeup. We can personalize medication for each individual, and actually it contributes a big way to pharmacovigilance, because as we customize medications, we might reduce side effects, we might increase the efficacy of medications taken by individuals or patients. The knowledge that we have in the application of pharmacogenetics is only at its infancy. I think there's a lot of room for expansion and growth. Now we need more collaborations to be able to uncover such genetic markers within the global population. And these markers may differ from country to country or from population to population. And I think it's important that we come together and collaborate so that we can bring pharmacovigilance to another level of sophistication and advancement to prospectively protect public health.
The world I hope for is a place where science and new technology are used wisely to achieve safer health for all. One of the most important developments for the future is to shift mindsets from just gathering data to understanding it and acting upon the new information. If we move focus from data collection to analysis and good decision making, we will be able to prevent avoidable harm. When we began our work, the enormous impact of data was something we were only beginning to understand. Today, the power of data influences the speed at which our world moves, drives our economies, shapes our communities, and helps us overcome societal problems on a scale never before imagined. There will be a future in which technology will help us much more than today to monitor the effects of medicines for every patient. But we still rely on the vigilance of health professionals and patients. What we learn from each patient can help every patient. To touch the lives of patients and help them to be healthier, we must engage everyone in building a safety culture for the future. We must create a culture of openness and trust, where patients and health professionals can report problems without fear, and above all else, where we learn from mistakes and build on collective experience.
The UMC's growth from a small team in Uppsala to a global movement has been a journey without borders, one driven by purpose, passion, and a commitment to the patients they ultimately serve. For the organization's health professional partners, the challenge of geography is thankfully diminishing. They're increasingly on the same page, learning from each other each day, constantly communicating on risk, and reaping the rewards in a world where distance is no longer a barrier to cooperation. As health professionals, we are kindred spirits. We're all different, but we share the same profound commitment to improving healthcare for the most vulnerable in society, and above all, to saving lives. UMC's guiding principle from its founding remains unchanged: to be the warning sign against adverse drug reactions across the world. But unlike the lighthouse, we no longer stand alone.
To end this very productive day, and before going to our gala dinner, I want to introduce Gediminas on behalf of the Uppsala Monitoring Center.
So, hello everyone. I just wanted to say a few final words about the film you just saw. So, it was created a year ago when we celebrated UMC's 40-year anniversary. So, it was one of the initiatives we did. And we tried to tell a very compelling story about UMC's activities. And together with that, we also tried to show the network we're working with of WHO program. We tried to show that different parts of the world have different challenges when it comes to pharmacovigilance. But all of these countries are united by very passionate people who devote their careers to make pharmacovigilance better. And I really hope you enjoyed the film, and thank you very much for staying on and watching it. And I really hope you will enjoy the dinner tonight. So, thank you.